Hey guys, gals, how's it going? What is good? What is good? Alright, quickly just gonna check the stream, make sure we're okay, guys and gals. Is good. Perfect. Perfect. Awesome sauceum. Awesome sauceum. Great to have you guys and gals. Great to have you. Thank you for, the views on the first video, the theory video. Wow. Not bad. Not bad. There are some actual intelligent people in the world. Crazy. There's at least 16. So many views there were on that video. Come on, you guys. Gotta do better. I'm just going on a tangent here. But no, all jokes aside, guys, gals. Man, the views on the theory video. Where'd you guys come from? That's awesome. That is totally awesome. It really is. You're the reason why I'm continuing. Let's go. 17 views. Okay, my apologies. There's at least 17 intelligent people in the world. I say that because I don't know, I don't want to go on a tangent, but I'm trying to keep things positive here. There's too much toxicity and drama, and it's like people flock to that stuff more than actually learning stuff. It's crazy. Anyways, enough of that. It's great to have you. Thank you, 17 viewers, whoever you are, wherever you are. Every single one of you legends! Oh, I should do that. That's a good idea. Give me a sec. Let me find it. My sound effect. Oh, whoops. And then we're gonna get going, but this is for you. This is for you, guys, gals, whoever you are, wherever you are. Thank you for the views on the theory video. Let's go. That's right, that's right, that's right. That's for you, supporters, viewers, lurkers, twerkers, chatters, viewers, 17 viewers, 120 plus IQ peoples that you are. Let's go. Just keeping it real, guys. Keeping it real, you know? Keeping it real. But yeah, I'm going to do a little more reading, and then we're going to get into some visual and learning. So stay tuned. Let's do this. Enough with Johnny going on a tangent. His name's Johnny. I tend to do that sometimes, trying to keep it interesting. Let's go. So we were at the last thing we did was we're reading the course outline. We're getting into ANSI standards, just stuff you just need to be aware of it. It's not something you need to study or remember. There's an industry out there, a committee of people, they make basically standards, and whoever's creating software or whatever people are doing, There's standards that they have to meet. It's global. It's global industry, worldly stuff. So they have to abide because, you want compatibility and stuff, right? So it makes sense to have it. So let's continue preparing to program. Bear with me, guys and gals. I'm doing my best to read. Yes, I do know the difference between your and your in a sentence. Big deals. Calculus major. So to me, knowing the difference between your and your is yawn stuff for me. Yawn. It's kind of like a Python programmer bragging that they know how to code in Python. It's kind of the same. There's a term for it. That's your virtue signal, bragging that you know the difference between your and your. Probably a mathematics failure, I imagine. I say that because, people were all different too, right? We have strengths and weaknesses in regards to like learning, right? A lot of people are really good at obviously reading and writing and grammar, right? That's their strengths. We all can't have everything, right? So, but there are other types of people that are great at mathematics, such as I. Not bragging. Okay, I'm trying to be modest here, but I don't know, once it clicked for me, I just loved it. I couldn't get enough doing mathematics problems. Yes, call me weird, but at least I know I'm going to go up to heaven knowing that I'm educated. Whether I use it in the world is another thing, but I'm not bragging that I'm educated. There's just, we know what the world's like. Maybe, hopefully you're not living in a bubble. But certain people, certain groups of people have a judgment on others, especially, those that maybe don't know the difference between your and your, so they judge them harshly. Those kind of people. I guess I'm that group. My point is, I'm country and educated. So, and I know the difference between your and your. Again, yawn. So, anyways, enough of that. Let's go on. Coding and mathematics, just another level of you guys too, right? If you're learning, you're here growing. Being a realist, right? You got to give yourself a bit of a pat on the back too, right? And I respect you. Yeah, I say certain things and such, but I don't really reflect what I'm saying onto you guys watching. Just to let you know, just to be clear. Because if you're here learning and willing to learn to code, that just says a lot about your character to me. Okay? All right. Let me have some coffee. I don't know if you guys don't mind me going on tangents or not. But I'll try to get back on topic here. All right, it's time to learn. It is time to learn. Okay, preparing the program. Let's go, guys. Gals, you ready for this? C++, that's what we're doing. Perhaps more than other languages, demands that the programmer design the program before writing it. A lot of people will do that. They'll lay it out, they'll sketch it out. Brainstorming, if you ever heard of brainstorming. Me, I just kind of start just writing code. That's how I do it. And I know I should be reading here, but just to kind of give you what I do, right? I'll write blocks of code, I'll run it, I'll test it, try to break it. And the greatest thing about having errors is it can be frustrating, yes, but it also has a benefit too, because what you're doing is you're actually turning the gears in your brain and figuring things out. And once you figure out the problem, a lot of times it's just silly mistakes, a syntax or something. Anyways, you're learning there, right? The more mistakes you make, the better it is, because you're actually learning, and you'll be able to debug and such your code so much quicker. Once you get the gist of how the program works, how code is run, all those sort of things, you just gotta put in the time and grind and make mistakes. Don't give yourself a hard time if you do silly mistakes. It happens. Okay? We're all humans. That's how we learn, by making mistakes. Okay? Again, you don't want to do the mistake 3 times, because just like baseball, you're out. Right? Okay, let's carry on. Okay, so a lot of people have designed the program before writing it and writing your code, right? So you could do that as well. You could brainstorm your ideas, give yourself, maybe do like a what do they call those? Where you do blocks. You're kind of writing it on a scrap piece of paper. It's like a line diagram, if you know what I mean. I mean, you could do that. There's nothing wrong with it. Again, people are going to do different things before they start writing code, and everybody's different. So they're going to have their thing, and just because somebody's doing something different doesn't mean that your way is better than somebody else's. Okay, that's just the way they learn, right? So you could brainstorm, you could do I'll show you an example of what I mean here by blocks and lines, kind of. I forget what to call it. Line diagram or something to that effect. However you want to do it. Myself, I just start writing code. Okay. All right, trivial problems such as the ones discussed, blah, 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 carrying on, don't require much design if they're small programs. Complex problems, however, such as the ones professional programmers are challenged with every day, do require design, right? It makes sense. Something like that, large scale stuff, definitely you're going to want to have a plan. And the more thorough the design, the more likely it is that the program will solve the problems it is designed to solve, on time and on budget. Oh, stupid budgets. I don't want to get into that, because it's always the greedy one at the top putting the pressure on everybody else, and they don't understand how to code. A good design also makes for a program that is relatively bug-free and easy to maintain. It has been estimated that fully 90% of the cost of software is the combined cost of debugging and maintenance. Right? But I guess that would happen if you got crappy copy and paste chat GPT coders writing your code. Yeah, they're going to be wasting a lot of your money. To the extent that good design can reduce those costs, it can have a significant impact on the bottom line cost of the project. So a good plan obviously helps to save costs, but if the code's all buggy and stuff. Anyways, so the first question you need to ask when preparing to design any program is, what is the problem I'm trying to solve? Every program should have a clear, well-articulated goal. And you'll find that even the simplest programs in this course do so. I was just thinking, like, when you're actually figuring out, say you have an app or a game or whatever you want to make, and you lay it out and you do some pre-design work. There's nothing wrong with that. You could do that. Totally can. Man. My brain today. So, I'm just going to continue on. The second question every good programmer asks, can this be accomplished without resorting to writing custom software? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's different ways of writing code, and of course you got different topics, different style, different, what would be the right word to use? Different means of writing code. There's like different styles or different ways. You'll see examples coming up, guys, but like every there's so many different ways of writing code, but you don't have to use all of the ways to write code. I mean, there's kind of like an essay. You have to have a certain order. Like essay has intro, body, conclusion, right? And of course you got all the other little things like foreshadowing and what else not, right? You don't have to use all the ammunition you have, I guess, so you understand what I mean. You don't have to use all the different ways or processes to write code. You might only need certain different areas, right? You don't have to use everything, is kind of what I'm trying to get at. So if you're designing your program, you can make the decision, I'm going to use this style of coding to make my program. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so we're using an old program. Let's see, can this be without resorting to custom software? Reusing an old program using pen and paper or buying software off the shelf is often a better solution to a problem than writing something new. I don't know, myself personally, I like the challenge of just figuring it out on my own and grinding it out. I'll resort to the internet and research the internet for different. Lots of people have good information on the internet. They offer solutions. Now you can look at their solution, try to analyze it, try to figure out what they're writing and what they're doing. You're also learning too. You're learning different ways of writing code. Because everybody's going to kind of do it different. It's not always going to be the same, but the general layout or outline of writing code is kind of the same. Like, for example, like classes, if you will. We'll get into that, okay? I'm just kind of throwing some thoughts and ideas out at you guys, okay? All right, so like you could use an old program if you, like a lot of us, I'm not going to say us. Starting out as a new programmer, you're going to kind of write lame code. And that everybody's going to do that. That's all just part of the learning process, guys. Okay, I save a lot of my old code on Notepad. So, and even notes, note-taking, references, what else not. Because there's so much information, trying to access that information out of the library in your brain. Sometimes you can't access it. I don't know. It's kind of like locked up like a vault. So sometimes you have to reflect on notes is what I do. So I use Notepad because all my school notes from college are gone forever. I have no idea what happened to this stuff. Not a happy camper about it. But that's why I like doing stuff and writing on the computer now. I'll put my notes on the computer, and I'll even WinZip stuff just to make sure I have a backup and never lose it. So, but you can take your old program, your old code, and you could revitalize it, rewrite it, restructure it. You know, you could write it using pen and paper. However, again, guys, everybody's different. They're going to have their own approach at doing things. And just because somebody has a certain way of doing something doesn't mean that your way's better. Okay, I'm not saying reflecting this on you, but a lot of people are kind of like that. They think their way is better. Just because it's you doesn't mean your way's better. You know? Anyways. Alright, so the programmer who can offer these alternatives will never suffer from lack of work. There's always something to do, guys. You'll come up with new ideas. You'll just kind of, sometimes you'll take breaks from it. And then you'll miss it. You'll come back to it. And then you'll just kind of write old code. You may even go back to kind of the earlier stuff just to kind of refresh your memory. There's so many different things with coding. It's awesome. I love it. There's always something to learn. Guys, don't be that guy that thinks that they know everything. That person is a tool that's useless, kind of like a left-handed wrench or something. I don't know, that was a bad analogy. I'm not saying anything bad against you lefties, right? Just kind of making a weird analogy, I guess. Okay, so the programmer who can offer these alternatives will never suffer from lack of work. Finding less expensive solutions to today's problems always generates new opportunities later. Assuming you understand the problem and it requires writing a new program, you are ready to begin your design. The process of fully understanding the problem, i.e. analysis, and creating a plan for a solution, your design, is the necessary foundation for writing a world-class commercial application. Now, if we're talking about large-scale software applications, there's usually teams of people working on stuff like that, guys. Okay? So it's a collaboration. All right. And there is such thing as an indie developer. You could team up with your bestie and become indie developers. There's that too. That's kind of what I consider myself, an indie, but I haven't really released or put anything out. I do, I'm doing this, I don't know, coding something I should have did when I was in college instead of taking design and drafting. Again, young, dumb, and full of right? You don't really know what you want to do in life, right? Now, there were things in life that were kind of hinting to me, right? Especially when I was writing that little program on Commodore 64. That should have been the sign right there for me. Hey, this is the direction you need to go. But I missed the opportunity, young and dumb, right? Think you know everything. Guys, you have no idea. When you become the older you're going to look down on yourself and go, man, how stupid was I? I even do that to myself. Okay, that's reality of being a human. Just because you think you're smart during that moment doesn't mean you are. It's wild. Trust me, when you get older, you'll look down on yourself and go, man, was I ever an idiot? That's facts. All right, let's carry on. But yeah, I do kind of have regrets missing my opportunity, right? It sucks. So here I am doing this, pushing and grinding. I love learning and I love writing code. Whether you guys watch or learn from what I'm doing, I don't know. Like, it's great having you guys. It really, truly is. But I'm a little bit cynical, right? A little bit of a recluse, I guess. I don't expect to blow up doing stuff like this. right? Because the way I'm looking at the world, 17 people out of 8 billion. That's how many are watching. Pretty wild. So, okay. All right, so this course makes your development environment, okay? This course makes the assumption that your compiler has a mode in which you can write directly to a console. That's what we're going to do here. Old school, you had this thing called MS-DOS. I used to write commands in MS-DOS. That doesn't really exist anymore. Now you kind of have the command prompt. I'll bring that up. Or a shell window. You have PowerShell as well. You can write in. So, but that's kind of more IT type stuff, I guess. Without worrying about graphical environment. But you can still write out to these things too. Visual Studio has its own console and its own console pop-up, which is great. That's what I like. But you can write to the command prompt or a shell window as well. Okay. Without worrying about a graphical environment. So what they mean is GUI, GUI, graphical user interface. That's the other challenge, is taking your script or your code and turning it into a GUI. Okay, that's one of the reasons why I kind of went the Unity route. So, but you know, it was just easier, if you will. But then, you know, I had to go into learning C#, which wasn't a problem, because once you know how to write in C++, writing in C# is easy breezy, lemon squeezy. Okay, trust. Okay, so such as the ones in Windows or on the Macintosh, look for an option such as console or easy window, or check your compiler's documentation. Yada, yada, yada. Your compiler might be part of an integrated development environment. Short form would be called an IDE. So an IDE is Microsoft Visual Studio, which you'll see shortly here. It's called an IDE, Integrated Development Environment, okay? So, or it might have its own built-in source code text editor. Or you might be using a commercial text editor or word processor that can produce text files. The important thing is that whatever you write your program in, it must save simple plain text files. So again, like, you could literally copy all your code. It doesn't matter what you use. You could copy all that, save it on Windows Notepad, and then all you really, and it's such a small file, Windows Notepad, you could just take a thumb drive or whatever you use for Medium for storing your data. So that it's kind of like something you can carry, kind of like a laptop, right? Something simple, easy. It's has great mobility. You can take it from one place to another, all right? Such as a thumb drive, and then you could just stick it into another. Put the USB into another system, copy the file, then open it, copy and paste that code into another IDE or whatever. That's the great thing about code. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So text files, essentially. Notepad is what you use for that, guys. So it must save simple plain text files with no word processing commands embedded in the text. Examples of safe editors include Windows Notepad, right? The DOS edit command. Again, this is 20-year-old course information, but it doesn't matter, guys. The information's all the same, right? Same thing with coding. Okay. Except, obviously technology has kind of, gotten better over the years, obviously. Some things don't exist anymore. So let's carry on. Many commercial word processors, such as WordPerfect, that's old school, does not exist anymore. Word still exists. You don't use that. You don't want to use that. Okay, they used to have WordPad. I still have it, but if you are on Windows 11, I don't know about Macs, but if you're on Windows 11, you actually end up, that gets removed permanently. It's gone. After a certain update, I forget which update it is, that actually removes it. So, but there is a way to actually get your notepad back, but you have to have Windows 10 to be able to do it. All right, or save it before you actually do that update. Again, I don't know when that update was. Like, it was, when did they remove WordPad? It's been at least 6 months, something like that, or more. Anyways, so, but you'll have Notepad. That they won't remove that. The files you create with your editor are called source files. Okay, and for C++, they typically are named with the extension .cpp or .cp or .c. .c is C language. CPP is C++ language. Okay, just so you know. This course names all the source code files with the .cpp extension. But check your compiler for what it needs. I don't know how to check your compiler. I just you create a new. I'll show you how to do that to kind of create one. Okay, guys. We'll get into that. If I could get through the reading, hopefully I'm helping you learn and giving you information and helpful information. Again, it's great to have you. Thank you for listening. Most C++ compilers don't care what extension you give your source code. But if you don't specify otherwise, many use the .cpp by default. Okay? Be careful, however, some compilers treat the .c files as C code, naturally, right? Again, check your compiler's documentation. I know with Visual Studio, I could open up an empty C# program or an empty C++ program. Okay? Have I written C code, C#? And I don't think that I have, not with a compiler. But I have type C# code in Windows Visual Studio. I'm just thinking about this now. Mostly with using the .NET stuff and WinForms and UWP. I didn't care much for UWP, but I did. There's also WPF. Yeah, WPF. That's another thing entirely, guys. So we're here today. We're sticking with C++. C++ uses a compiler. It converts your human readable script into machine language or binary. C++. It basically, that's the processor works off binary, right? So they're basically besties, C++ and the processor. Again, in every other language, there's, what is it again? Virtual machine, right? It's different. Same, but not, it's different. It doesn't talk directly with the processor. That's why majority of major software is written in C++. All the other stuff is elementary. Okay, do's. Do use a simple text editor to create your source code or use the built-in editor that comes with your compiler. You can write code in Notepad too. You just won't be running it. Can't really do testing and such, right? All right, the process of creating the program. The first step in creating a new program is to write the appropriate commands or statements. Okay, line statements. You'll hear the term statements a lot. Okay, your script or your code into a source file. Again, remember guys, your source file is your .cpp file. Okay, just remember that. Although the source code in your file is somewhat cryptic, okay, and anyone who doesn't know C++ will struggle to understand what it is for. And that's true. If you're a newbie and you've never written a line of code or seen, you'll struggle to understand it, right? Anyone would do it. Anybody new or unfamiliar, okay? Okay, so it is in what we call human readable form, right? It's still human readable. Your source code file is not a program and it can't be executed or run. Okay, guys? As an executable program file can. Okay, that's been converted, that's why. There's a lot going on. There's compiling and linking and OBJ files and all that stuff going on. Okay, creating an object file with the compiler. Excuse me guys, to turn your source code into a program, use a compiler. Again, you guys will see one here shortly. I'll show you. How you invoke your compiler and how you tell it where to find your source code varies from compiler to compiler. After your source code is compiled, an object file is produced. Okay, OBJ file. That's for the linker. Okay, this file is often named with the extension .obj or .o. This is still not an executable program. Okay, guys, you can't double click it and run it. Again, we all know this. .exe file is your executable. To turn this into an executable program, you must run your linker. Okay, the linker is kind of like, think of the linker as a puzzle builder. The one that's making the puzzle is the linker. So that's a pretty good analogy. It takes all your puzzle pieces or your OBJ files and pretty much puts them together to create an executable. I'll read this. Okay, C++ programs are typically created by linking one or more object files, the .obj, okay, with one or more libraries, right? And there's libraries and namespaces that are involved too. It's a collection of information that we need to also run code, guys. It's important. A library is a collection of linkable files that were supplied with your compiler that you purchased separately, or that you created and compiled. All C++ compilers come with a library of useful functions, right? These are great. It's functions we could create ourselves, guys and gals, but there's people out there that were generous and they put together all these libraries and namespaces and such, and internally they have their own functions in that. And they're just making our life easier is what they're doing. Otherwise, we would have to create all this ourselves. The work is done for us. And because they're so awesome at doing all that for us, it's made our life easier. And all we really need to do is just learn, right? Okay, so useful functions and classes that you can include in your program. You'll see that, the dot includes, okay? You'll learn more about functions and classes in great detail in the next few days, all right? Or next few videos. I'm going to be, again, guys, I appreciate you watching, whoever you are. You're golden. You really are. I'm going to be busy. Like, I don't want to get into my life details. I'm just going to say struggling and moving. That's all I'm going to say. Struggle is real. Okay? Okay. Trying to make something out of this. Now, again, if that really happens ever, I don't know. But here we are. So I'm going to continue. The pushing and grinding, keep my chin up. That's what I do. The steps to create an executable file are: create a source code file with a .cpp extension, compile the source code into an object file with the .obj extension, and link your object. You don't have to do this yourselves, guys. We create the source code. Everything else is kind of done in the background for us. So don't be worried or scared. Okay, the compiler does the compiling stuff, and the linker does the linking stuff. We have our own puzzle builder. Again, remember, the puzzle builder, the puzzle master is the linker. Okay, link your object file with any needed libraries. Again, you'll have to put in those. We'll have to include them. The development cycle. If every program worked the first time you tried it, this would be a complete development cycle. Write the program, compile the source code, link the program, and run it. Unfortunately, almost every program, no matter how trivial, can and will have errors. Okay? That's a human error, right? Again, we're all humans, guys, gals. Stop acting like you're perfect. Some errors cause the compile to fail, some cause the link to fail, and some show up only when you run the program. These are often called bugs. So you'll have compile time errors, you'll have linker errors during runtime, or actually that's before runtime because the linking kind of has to happen. And then you got runtime bugs, right? We'll talk about compile time and runtime in the near future. Okay, guys, gals? Whatever type of error you find, you must fix it, right? Otherwise, yeah, you have no choice. This is the part of the learning. Deciphering your code, fixing your code, and when you fix your code, it's such a great feeling. It really is. And that's all part of the learning. Again, I love making errors. All it's going to do, guys and gals, is make you better. Truly, that's what it does. Okay, so that involves editing your source code, recompiling, and relinking. Of course, you're going to have to run it again, so all that stuff's going to have to happen again, right? It's kind of like reinitiating everything all over again, essentially. So this cycle is represented, right? Here's the diagram I'm kind of was talking about. I'll just kind of do this. There is a name for it, but I kind of remember it. I kind of don't remember it. Whatever it's called. There we go, right? So you have like when you're creating your code, you could do this. Right? It's another way of doing it. So the steps in the development of a C++ program, right? You hit the start or the run. You got all this stuff going on. If you have errors, you got to kind of go back, right? If you have linker errors, you got to go back. And if everything's good, it'll run. Runtime errors is all dynamic. Okay, so think of here's two terms I'm going to give to you right from the beginning. You might as well learn this now. Static means not moving, and dynamic means moving. Okay, think of it like that. So runtime errors are typically static errors. No, sorry, let me start that again. Compile time errors are typically static errors. And runtime errors are your dynamic errors. Okay? We'll talk about this, right? Because understanding memory and the difference between compile and runtime It's key, guys. It's key. And if everything's going great, then it'll run and boom, done. Okay, again, that little diagram I just showed you, you could lay out your program just like that as well. However you want to do it, it's up to you. Need a more coffee? It's great to have you here. Appreciate you. Oh, yeah. I just want to put something in chat here quickly. Not that chat's exciting or anything. I understand you guys have lives and stuff. You're probably, a lot of you could be working or whatever. It's great. It's the views when I'm not live that keep me going, guys. And it's you watching and listening. You keep me going. Okay, I know you guys aren't going to be here on the live all the time. I don't really have a strict stream time. Again, be patient, guys. I'm going to be busy the next couple of weeks. But for those of you that have been watching, you're the reason I'm live today. So I'm going to try to be live and continue this for you guys over the next 2 weeks. Just depends on what I got going on. Okay? Again, I'm going to just say the struggle is real over here. All right, let's continue. Okay, so we're almost there. We're ready. We're going to write our first C++ program here. It's going to be small, but when you run your first line of code, it's a really good feeling. So get excited. I can't wait till you write your first line of code and run it, because it's really, you're just going to be feeling so invigorated. It's a great feeling. So here we go. The typical one you'll see is the hello world type stuff. That's common. Okay, it's kind of the norm. Traditional programming courses begin by writing the words hello world to the screen. Yeah, that's traditional, yeah. Very commonplace. Or a variation on that statement. We're going to try to do a variation on that statement. This time, honored tradition is carried on here. Okay, we'll carry it on here. We'll carry the tradition. Type the source code shown in listing blah 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 directly into your editor exactly as shown, excluding the line numbering. I guess they do have to be clear about that. You could have some dirt burger write the numbers down. This isn't basic. After you are certain you have entered it correctly, save the file, compile it, link it, and run it. I'll show you all that here, guys. If everything was done correctly, it prints the word hello world to your screen, to our compiler essentially. I mean console, sorry. Didn't mean to, if I'm calling it compiler, I don't mean to call it that. It's called the console is what pops up. Don't worry too much about how it works. This is really just to get you comfortable with the development cycle. Every aspect of this program is covered over the next couple of streams, okay? All right. Okay, the following listing contains the line numbers on the left. These numbers are for the reference within the course. Blah blah blah. They should not be typed in your editor. Okay, but we have to do add or includes, right? Our libraries. Okay, let's do this. So that's enough with this. So I'm gonna close this and let's bring up Visual Studio. Let's go. Here we go. Drop the yays. I haven't dropped the yays in a while. Let's drop some yays. Yays! And then we'll talk about Visual Studio a little bit. This really isn't a how to install Visual Studio or whatever type video. We're kind of, this is C++ instructional, yada yada yada. We're typing code, going over theory, talking about the basics and all those sort of things. Again, I think I have a how to install Visual Studio and what to do on my YT channel. YT sucks. I say that because they, they didn't really share my content as well as I would like them to have shared it. So, what do you do? Or maybe it's just a me thing and people don't like me. I don't know. Whatever. I still sleep at night. It's a tough feeling, but I can still sleep at night. Okay, what am I looking for here? I am looking for... Here it is. I found it. Okay, guys. Here we go. Here it is.
As great in summer.
Hang on. Gotta wait. I gotta skip a commercial here. Typical. Okay. Hold up. Here it is. I'm almost out of coffee. Oh, the humanity. All right, let's talk about this. What am I showing you here? First things first, about Microsoft Visual Studio. Okay? So it's real easy, guys and gals. Really, all you need to do is just type Microsoft Visual Studio and download, or free download in your browser. I don't know which browser you're using. In your Google search bar, for example, Microsoft Visual. There are other IDEs out there. Okay, I don't have a promoter or anybody promoting me, so I have nothing to promote. But there are other IDEs out there that are available. Now it's up to you whichever one you want to use. Again, that's your choice. You're a human. You can make that decision as long as we live in a free country still. Otherwise, if you don't, then you're pretty much told and forced to do what other people think. It's not a world you want to live in. Trust. Okay. So it's a community version. All right, 2022. I think eventually they're weeding out the FAT32, the 32-bit architecture. There probably are people out there still using the 32-bit or x86. But if you're using Windows 10, I don't know if you're on Macintosh, or I don't know much about Macintosh. I'm all Windows over here, guys. So if you're using Windows 10 and higher, I mean even Windows, what was before that? Windows 8, Windows 7, they still used, I don't want to say the wrong information, but Windows 10, I'd have to do the research because I don't have it saved in the old memory banks. Windows 8 might have been x64. I think it was. It's the type of architecture, right? It's important. So 64-bit. So if you have Windows 10 or you're using Windows 11, you're fine. You're using x64 architecture. Okay? That's the current version on the latest updates. There are certain things that you're going to need. Extensions. Was it in here? No, not here. think it's part of the tools and features. That's what it is. Tools and features. So you're gonna search. I'll kind of quickly go over this. If you don't have this, install it on your C drive, your main drive. Okay. You can see what I have check marked here. Just check mark that stuff. Okay. You could even do Python development if you want to learn Python. But that's something you could do after the fact. You don't really need .NET. Again, that was for doing WPFs and window forms. That's more C#. So you don't need to check this. You'll definitely need this. Okay. If you're going to do mobile development, check this. Again, take note though before you do it. There's a lot of information you're going to be downloading. Okay. Now, if you want to make applications for mobile, do check it. But if not, if you just want to learn, just check this one. Okay? And this here, I can't recall exactly what when I was using WinUI, which I don't think I have, so I probably wouldn't worry about this either. Game development, I was using Unity, so I needed that. You don't need this. The main thing is this. Okay? Again, that was under tools and get tools and features. When you're installing this, you'll see this pop up. Okay, you'll see this. So you're going to need this one for sure check marked. All right? Again, a lot of things, even though you uninstall or remove stuff, it doesn't necessarily get removed from your system. So if you don't want a lot of unnecessary crap on your system, don't check mark everything. Okay? Just check what you need. If you're just learning, don't worry about extensions and stuff right now. As you advance, these are things that you can install as well, but don't worry about it. You can right click and close. Your Solution Explorer, it's not really your File Explorer, right? But there is a link between, okay? As a matter of fact, that's okay. Well, just be aware that anything you kind of do here will reflect in your File Explorer. Okay, it's kind of like live instant changes or reflections on your file system. Okay, just be aware. All right, so tools, get tools and features if you forget. Okay. All we need is desktop development with C++. Okay, that's it. What else do I need to say? Oh yeah, and of course you're going to have the current version and update. Again, just wherever you do your searches. For myself, I'm still using Chrome. Sorry, Bing. I mean, yeah, I don't want to go on a tangent. I'm just going to leave it at that. Search. Again, there's other IDs, such as if you want a different ID, it's up to you. There's trying to think of a couple here off the top of my head. I'm just having a brain fart right now. I uninstalled them, so like I don't need more than one ID, so I just went with Microsoft because, well, there's just a lot more support right now for it. Let's see if I can find CodeBlocks and JetBrains. That CodeBlocks helped me remember it. So you can use CodeBlocks as an ID or JetBrains. Okay, there are others out there. I don't know what else to recommend. Again, just search Microsoft Visual Studio. You want the community version. Community version. Okay. As of this live stream today, on this date, this is the current version. 17.14.12. All right. Okay, so the Solution Explorer is basically kind of like the link between your program here and your File Explorer. Okay? Just as a heads up. Okay, so you can't, I don't normally do this, but you can create files here. So you have these files that we're kind of talking about, just like we read earlier. .cpp files are your source files, okay? Yes, I do have a .cpp vec2 file. Now, I'm just using this one, but here, let me close this. I'm just going to go here, close solution, and I'm going to just open up my practice one, okay? No, that's the wrong one. Okay, yeah. Since we're here, let me talk about creating a new project. So once you got everything up to date and installed, create new project. Okay, so on my C drive, I created a new folder called Developer. Okay, on my C drive. Okay, I'm not going to show you it's not like I have anything hidden or anything to hide on my File Explorer, but it's none of your business. Okay, but anyways, I'm not trying to be rude, but create a new folder called Developer or whatever, and that's what where you're gonna save stuff. So let's just for funsies, let's create a new project. Okay, right here, empty project. So what you really do is you just, in the search bar here, just type C++. Okay, there. So it'll bring up a list of stuff that you can do. A lot of different things you could do. CMake projects. I don't really care for it much. I'm a console application type guy. So what you want is an empty project. Start from scratch with C++ for Windows. Provides no starting files. Is there another one with, I'm just curious. You should be okay, but empty project, C++, Windows, and console. You see that there, guys? That means you're going to have a console pop-up. That's what you want. Click next. Now, location, right? I call mine dev, but I just said for you, just call yours developer. I created another subfolder. It's up to you. You don't have to do this. But I called it Visual Studio Projects. And then I had another one called CPP Series. You can name your folders whatever you want, guys and gals, okay? I also have a C# series, so that's why I created the extra CPP folder, just to be better organized. Okay, so click your 3 dots, and then all you need to do is go to the main folder, okay? And then you can give your project name. You can say, I don't know, you can call it Hello World, okay? And then I always place mine in the same directory. Okay, and then just hit create. All right, that's how you do that. So let me close this. File open. Oh, hang on. File new, no. File. Here we go. Project solution, no. Well, that would work too, but I wanted my pop-up to come up again. Anyways, oh, there it is. That's what I wanted. This is exactly what I wanted. File. Just pay attention to what I did here. Okay, there. So I don't want to open up a new one, but there should be, hang on, open. There we go. So I already have this, whatever. So I'm going to open up, I think it's my second one. I'm going to open this one. Okay, let me just click up here. I'm in my seed, in my dev drive. And this is the folder itself, right? This gets created with when you create a new project. You'll get this created for you. You actually have to go into it and click this solution. It's a solution file, .sln. That's what you want to click. Okay, this is actually a folder that gets created. Everything inside gets created for you. Okay, but this is the main folder or main file you want to open. Okay, here we go. Okay, the reason I opened this is because I wanted to show you how to kind of create your own CPP file, brand new, right? Because you could do that as well. So I could go here. This is all here. This exists. Okay, so this is all kind of put here for you. It's already ready for you to do. So I could click this. I could right click and go add module. So I could actually create a new .cpp file just right here. And then I give it a name. Make sure you keep the extension. We could call it Hello World. I'm just showing you how you can create your own new source file. Okay? I obviously have one already. I don't need to create another one, but you can create more than one. Okay? But you only, for now, for learning, you only need one, guys. Okay? Let's talk about it quickly here. Let me show you the layout. I opened this one because if you noticed in my other project, this one here, I had a .cpp, a .cpp, and a .h. Okay, I'm going to explain these three files here to you right now. Okay, so let's just do it. I want to do it with this one here. We're just going to keep it simple and just do everything in our .cpp file for now. Okay, I don't want to over confuse you. It's easy. It's not that bad, guys. We're kind of doing everything. Let's just think about it like this. You could have one piece of paper and write on one piece of paper, right? You could do everything on that one singular piece of paper. Let's say you wanted to take it to another level and organize your work. So you've written everything on that one piece of paper, but now you want to organize all that information on that singular piece of paper into you want to kind of organize it, all right? So here's what I mean by the organizing. Now don't let all this confuse you, okay? Let's start with this. I'll show you how the organization works. So this singular file has everything. The three main areas. We only need to be aware of three main areas. This is my analogy of it. If you've done an essay, you have your intro, you have your body, and your conclusion. This is the easiest way I kind of can explain it. 3 parts of your essay. And the coding's kind of like that too. You have 3 parts. So close solution, I'll open up this one. Whoops. Close solution. Open up this one. I've broken it into 3 parts. Okay? That's what I've done there. This is my organized file. Okay? You can eventually, once you get better, you actually want to do this. You want to break everything into your 3 parts. But for all intents and purposes and for learning, you only really need the one file for now. Just for when you're a beginner and learning, okay? Alright, so the first thing I have here is, let me show you. These 2 forward slashes, okay? These are for your own personal notes. Again, there's a lot of information here in my project, yes. Don't let it scare you. I'm just showing you the information so that you're aware of the things that you can use within your project, okay? You can also create your own notes. I can create my own personal notes here, okay? You can do this. Now, when you have 2 forward slashes, basically, when you run the program, this is all ignored, okay? Anything after the 2 forward slashes, it doesn't get run, okay? It's just for your own personal information. As you advance with your program, or let's say you work for companies, you're going to have notes like this. But they have to be very generic, very basic. They have to kind of just explain what the code is about, and that's it. You don't write letters to your mother or your grandma or whatever. Especially if you're working for a company, you don't want a lot of notes. Okay, I'm just going to let you know this. But if you're doing this yourself at home, you can do this. You totally can do this. Again, it's part of the learning. Alright, so I'm just going to delete all that. So that's what that is. You see 2 forward slashes? Those are for notes. Again, take notes. 2 forward slashes. This is a single line comment. Okay? You could have... Whoops. You could also have a multi-line comment. Multi-lines are 1 singular forward slash and the number 8 button on your keyboard. Hold shift, boom. Gets created instantly. That's what it looks like. So this is a multi-line. So I could actually go wild, okay? And you can type whatever you want in here. I love my grandma. Okay? A lot. Okay? And make sure, again, here's some terminology I like to use. This is the brother and this is the sister. They come in pairs, okay? If it's gone, if I removed it, well, essentially things can really get messed up. I don't know why it's not arguing right now. It's really odd. But you got to keep it together. Sometimes it'll carry forward and actually make the rest of your code here turn. This is the color of my theme, if you will. This is the theme I'm using. I did a video on that, on how you could change your theme. You could do your own custom themes. Anyways, so there you have it. Okay, multi-line. So this here is also a multi-line, but I just kept it as a singular line. I could add more information if I wanted to, right? But for all intents and purposes, there we go. Okay? And then I have some extra information here. All right, so now let's get back to talking about, I just wanted to give you a kind of a quick rundown here about what everything is. Remember when I was kind of reading out loud to you guys, we were talking about libraries and such. Let's see if I can find that information. Where is that library stuff? C++ programs are typically created by linking. A library is a collection of linkable files. Again, so here's the main one that we're going to use. I got some extra ones here. Just kind of ignore these. Don't worry about these. This is just me messing around, okay? Trying different things. That's all it is. You don't need this. That's why it's commented out. If you don't want anything to run in your code or to be because right here you see this include. The fine devs that created, start coding right from the get-go, created these libraries. This is our library, okay? It has functions or methods inside that we could use as coders, right? So it's kind of, think of it like code that's already been written for us, functions, methods that we could utilize and use within our own code, okay? So anything inside this actually gets copied to our CPP file. So it actually makes our file a little bit larger, but we need it. It's necessary, okay? I could just delete this, if I wanted to. If I didn't want it there, I could easily remove it. Again, if you don't want certain lines of code run, all you need to do is just // it. And there we go. Now, if I run this, I'm going to have errors because there's missing information. The library has information in it that we need for when we're typing our code. Okay, guys and gals? Okay? So, let me just go like this. Hang on. All right. So here's I'm showing this here. As you advance and you level up your skill sets and learn more about coding and the different things that you could do, these are more libraries, okay? I have everything commented out, but I'm showing you here, this is stuff that you can kind of expect to learn when you progress and advance as a coder, as a C++ coder, okay? So I don't need them now. Now, if I did this, I'm going to end up like copying all this library information into my CPP file. And it's going to make the file huge, right? If you don't need this stuff, don't put it in, okay? It's just extra information that you don't need. Only include stuff that you need. Okay, the main one you need is the IO stream. Input, output stream. It's also called, I have some notes here for you guys and gals so you can read. I can read it to you. Preprocessor directive, it's called. Input, output stream. It's the standard library. Again, just think of it. It's the standard one that you need. It's the most basic library you need to start coding. Okay? Critical. So that's your first line of code. You could have an empty blank code. Empty blank. And that's all you would need to start writing code, is that. Okay? I just want to kind of redo everything here. There we go. Bring it all back to where it was. If you notice here, I have this little asterisk here. And so what that means is that's just telling you that it's not saved. So I usually go Control Home, Control Shift S for a quick save. Okay, that's all the asterisk means. Okay, there we go. There's a little bit talking about the libraries. Again, as you get better and more advanced and learn more things, you'll get into using these. They're fun to use. They really are. There's a lot of good stuff inside these libraries, guys and gals. Okay, again, people have put in the time. They've created some really good solid code. They don't release this stuff if it's garbage, right? It has to work. They test it. I'm sure they test the heck out of it before they release it to the public for use. Okay? Everything has to work. All right, let's talk about our essay. Okay, again, our source file, I'm going to rename this. I'll rename it after, but for now I just called it source file. Don't matter. Let's talk about our essay. Okay, our coding essay. This is what I kind of want to, just to help you guys understand. There's three main parts to your essay, right? There's probably more, but let's just keep it generic. Three main parts of an essay: intro, body, and conclusion, right? So with coding, I have what's called the you'll hear this terminology as you learn as well, and maybe you're watching getting your information elsewhere. You'll hear these terms, okay? Declaration of a function, your header files, essentially this whole area up here. So you see this main here? Anything above main, we're going to talk about this, are all your header files. Just ignore all the green information. They're really not part of your header, but, well, they are. I didn't mean to say that wrong or incorrectly, but anything above the main is your header. Let's just say it like that. This is where you declare your functions. So what is declaring your functions? We're going to be talking about, I have some functions here. We are going to talk about functions in the future and do more. You're going to see some here that I have. There are different ways to type these up too. I can show you a different way of creating these. But this is kind of where you declare your function. And I just had some other thoughts. It kind of got sidetracked a little bit in my brain, but that's okay. All right, so up in your header area, or the area above your int main, again, we can separate these sections. This is your header, right? So remember when I had a .h file? That's what that was, okay? It's your header. Okay, so this is the area where your function prototypes go. This is also the section where we place our struct or classes, our function prototypes. That's what this is here. This is called a function prototype. And any variable declarations. Again, we're keeping everything in one file, right? And you could do this. You could have all three parts in one file. It'll still run. Everything will be fine. Again, as you advance and you learn more and you get better, eventually you might probably want to start learning how to separate your code into the three main parts by creating new files. So I would create another file here. I would add another module here, and then you can actually drag and drop these. So I would create a header file, right? And you can name it whatever you want. That's how you do that. Okay? Keep your Solution Explorer pinned, right? If you lose it or you close it, because you can close it by accident, be aware of that. There's a way, view, right there under view. Isn't Solution Explorer in here? Yeah, there. If you accidentally close it, just go view, Solution Explorer, okay? That's how you bring it back. Because sometimes you'll be jumping back and forth here. Not all the time, but sometimes. Okay, let's talk about the body of our coding essay, if you will. Okay, this is extra information. We don't really need to get into it. But if I was to go like this, I don't want to delete everything. I don't want to get too carried away. But really, when you have an empty, blank, brand new project, this is the first thing you would type. Just ignore everything else, and this would be your second line. Now, you would immediately put curly brackets. Whoops, I'm kind of getting carried away here. But every method has, well, actually, this would be a function. Every function has curly brackets. You can see them right here. I'm just showing you this. You don't want the extra ones because you'll have problems, right? As you can see, it kind of fixed up, but I had it kind of warning me about stuff, right? You only need one set of curly brackets, okay? All right. So all I did was go enter, like this, right? There's your second line. There's your second thing you would do when you're creating your brand new empty program. Okay? I'm just going to undo all this because I don't want any errors, right? You got to be careful. Curly brackets are important. So, this is called an int main. Every program has this. It's in your source file always. Okay, actually, yeah, your main, I would normally call this main.cpp. That's fine. But you always have a main. Main is kind of where all the magic happens. Okay? Now, I haven't done the hello world thing yet, but I could. I've kind of done these in a different way, but I'll show you a different way of writing these. There's a couple of ways you could do it. So where was I? Let's do that. Let's see if I can find some of my old script here. I kind of changed these up. There's nothing wrong with the way I've done this, but it works. Okay, let me just go like this. We'll just do a simple one here. Just ignore all this extra stuff for now. So this is part of your IO stream. Okay, it's called standard. And then here you would have these. I want to use the proper terminology. Just trying to think of the name of them off by heart here. Let me see if I can open up something here and see if I can find it. I don't know if I'm going to find it. I have a huge document here that literally I could write a book with. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to find it. I guess I could quickly Google it. Double colon. It's not giving me the name. Scope resolution operator. That's what it's called. There it is. I found it. So it's kind of messed up, but that's what these are. Okay. You need double colons. Okay. Now there's a way to do this where you can avoid having to type standard all the time. You would call it using. I kind of stopped doing it. Using standard namespace or something like that. Yeah, I kind of got away from doing it. Let's see if I can find it. I don't mean to go on a tangent here, but I just want to kind of give you all the good information right from the get-go here while we learn. And then we'll get into coding. Once you have the general idea of what you're seeing, you'll have a better we could just code, right? Let's see, do I have anything here? No, it's not there. It's not there either. How about here? No, I'm just going through some older. There it is. I think that's it. I knew it was namespace. I had a feeling. Namespace standard there. So there it is right there. I found it. Okay, I'm getting away from doing this. When I was learning, I did this. So typing this line, basically you won't have to type standard anymore, essentially. Okay, I'm just gonna go like this, Control X. I'm just gonna leave that there, and I'm gonna comment that out. Okay, I'm just gonna keep that information there for you. Okay, so, but let's not be lazy. Okay, and we're gonna type it out. Check the. Okay, all right, good, we're fine. Getting a little long. I don't know. You guys okay if I keep it at a couple hours? We still haven't run our first line yet, so. Okay, so part of the IOStream library is the word see out. I just gotta look at my notes here from my prior streams. I have this stuff all backed up. Oh, let's see. I just want to use the proper terminology while I'm kind of a doer, guys. But let's use the industry lingo. Come on, where is that? I couldn't have passed it yet. There's no way. Where is that? There it is. Standard output stream. Okay, that's what cout is called. A lot of times, okay, the C in cout stands for character. Okay? Character, out. Okay? Out stands for output. Okay, not that we need to really know this, but we're going over the theory a bit, okay? Once you get this stuff understood, then you can just write code, guys. So, thus, cout refers to character output. So, for ease of understanding, others may think or reference it in their mind as console out. That's kind of what I was thinking of it. Call it console out. Okay, the very next thing we need to do is we need these are actually functions. It's kind of wild. I never thought of them as functions, but it's part of the library, right? Without this library, you can't use any of this stuff, right? That's why the very first include is critical. Okay, I think it's an overloaded. It's over. Again, I haven't looked at the code myself, how they make the code. I just use it, right? If you need to get more advanced before you try to start reading the code that's in the background for this, guys. You can try to read it, but you're just going to get confused and frustrated and then probably want to quit. I don't want you guys doing that, so don't worry about that now. Let's just get the basic understanding of what is what, and then you can read other people's code. Okay? So, This here is called standard input stream. Okay, these two. They're basically, I think they're the less than sign. You need two of them. Okay. Oh, sorry. I said that wrong. I knew I should have moved that somewhere else. I gotta fix this. Sorry, guys. Start again. These are called, I was reading the wrong information, stream insertion operators. Okay. Whoops. Stream insertion operators. Okay. The direction matters. Okay. The direction they go matter, because it refers to the direction that you're going out to the console. Are you going into the console or out to the console? Okay, it just depends on what action you're doing. Okay, so that's the next thing. Here's the thing I like to tell you guys. So with coding, it's kind of like an order of operations thing. There's a certain order, certain placement of certain characters. Once you grind out enough code and line code, you'll know. Okay, you'll know when to type what. You will get there. I believe in you. It's just a matter of grinding code and typing lots of code. But it's very repetitive and it's very consistent. The more you do, the better you're going to get at it. Okay? Okay, so that's what we need next. We're going to do the hello world thing. I'm just going to comment this stuff out for now. And then comment this out for now. Well, I don't have to, but I just don't want all this extra information showing up. We're just going to kind of keep it basic for now. I'm just going to comment all of this stuff out. And I'll explain what this is after. Okay, so let's type hello world. I wanted to kind of give you a basic breakdown of what is what first. Okay, next thing we do is type quotations, right? Now, what do quotations do? Whenever you see quotations, what do quotations mean to you? Usually an expression, right? Something somebody is saying or something somebody is talking about. This is where we write our words. Okay? This is what's going to output to our console. Okay? Anything you want displayed to the console or to the screen will be in quotations. Okay? All right, and the very final thing we got to do is this is called hang on, let me find it. I just want to give you the terminology and then I'll explain what it does. It's really simple what it does. Okay, first thing I typed was the backslash. Okay, the backslash is called the escape character. Okay, anything after this escape character, let me just go like this. I'm just gonna go like this and like this, and I'm gonna just it's doing that because I have break in my code here right now. Let me just go like this. Right, so it's kind of yelling at me here. There we go. Okay, let me go like this. Some of this you'll see, this is from C language. There we go. Okay. And there it is. It's all right here. Okay. For you guys and gals. Alright, so the one we're using is the \n. What is that, you ask? New line. Okay, you have these other ones that you can use as well. Okay? So, when you see \n, that basically is a new line. What's a new line? Essentially, it's this. Right? No different than hitting enter on your keyboard. Okay? So that's what that is. So we're using \n. Okay? New line. And you can see that it's different, even though, and then take note, it's inside our quotations. Okay? You can do this. You can actually have it before. So let's say I had a line beforehand. And I didn't have an enter. Well, this first enter is going to be the enter. It's no different than me taking this and putting it right here. Okay? It's the same thing. You could actually have one in front. Anytime you see one character, remember, think of that as one enter. Okay? So now the very last thing we need is always with C++. The other languages don't use this, but C++ and C# definitely does. This is our statement. Okay? This is our very first line of code. Get ready to get excited to run your first line of code. Every statement ends with a semicolon. Always. Okay? If you don't, then you're going to have compiler errors. Okay? It'll argue, right? It's not doing it right now, but if I build it, building is not running. Okay? It's just building it. Basically creating the OBJ files. Okay? Control-Alt-B. I did something wrong. Control-Shift-B. My bad. There we go. See? I have down here what's called an errors list and an output. Okay? It's going to give you some information. It's going to tell you stuff. It's going to say you got something derped. You're doing something wrong. A lot of times the information that's displayed here is helpful. Okay? So it's actually telling me. And I mean, you'd have to be really dense to not understand what's going on, right? Or what's missing. It's literally telling you that it's missing syntax. It's missing your semicolon. Okay? And it also tells you which line. Okay? Which is what? Line 72. That's crazy. Why would it be down here? That's wild. Okay? But it's right here. Normally it is right exactly. It's either below the line, a lot of times it'll say 47. So when you're doing your debugging, if you want to call it that, check the line above as well. Okay? Don't just go, oh, it's on 47, and then think, oh, it's got to be on 47. It must be because it's telling me. No, it's not like that always. Check the line above. It could be an error with the line above. All right? Now, with that said, I kind of have everything saved here. So, not saved, but I'm just going to go like that. I'm commenting these out right now. This is one of my methods. Actually, it's a function right now. This is my function, okay? I say function because I don't have this in a class, okay? So right now, these are called functions. But I've commented it out because I don't want it to run. So if you don't want something to run, just // it. It's that easy. Okay, here we go. We're writing our first line of code. Hello world to the console. Again, I wanted to quickly explain what is this. Again, really what I've done here is a double enter. Okay, now there's two ways of writing this. you can do this in two ways. Notice that these are single quotes, okay? Anytime that you're just using one of these, this has to do with strings and characters, okay? So if you're using, whoops. Goodness gracious. Get undone. There. Okay? Just to explain. So if you're using one enter, you can do this. This is an actual line of code. This will run, this will execute, no issues. So if you're using just one backslash or one enter, you can get away with single quotes because it's a single character. Now I know there's two characters in there, yes, but remember, this is an escape character. It's actually really not, I don't think it's considered an actual character. Okay, this is considered a character, but this isn't. I don't know, it's kind of weird to say that, but excuse me. Again, take note. Whenever you're using two, you have to do it in double quotes. Okay, that's kind of a little bit of a tip. So there's two ways of writing this. Okay, both of them are just fine. Again, this is a single enter. This is a double enter. All right. Some extra information for you guys and gals. Let's control. Now, if I usually use the shortcuts, Control-Shift-B. I'll go Control-Home, Control-Shift-B. All I did was build it, okay? Now, up here, there's two things you could do. You could have, take note that I'm in debug mode. That's my solution configuration. And I'm using anything I'm creating. If I'm doing an application that I want to make an application for, you might have to select the architecture. x86 is your 32-bit, okay? 64 is 64. All right. So I'm doing that, creating applications for the 64-bit architecture. All right. And I'm in debug mode. Now, I don't need to debug. I kind of like to be my own debugger because that's how you're going to get better in advance as a coder learning. So I tend to just start without debugging. So this is start with debugging. This is without. Okay, a debugger will actually have this thing on the side and all this other stuff going on. It shows you processes and what else not. I'm just going to run it without. Okay, boom. That quick. That was fast. Wasn't that fast? Let me just do something here quickly. I wish I had more coffee. There you go, guys and gals. So, you feel all tingly and stuff and all warm inside? It's great. What a great feeling. What popped up here is our console, guys and gals. I could actually change it, modify it, stretch it. It has a standard size, so it'll pop up standard size all the time. You can actually go into its properties. I just right-clicked it, properties. You could change its default size if you want. You could tell it what position you want it to pop up out at, right? And there's a few other options. I don't mess around with it too much, but it's there. That's a dialog box pop up. And there's a few other tabs here too as well. You can change the colors, do whatever you want. I leave it standard. Okay. Two ways to close this. Now, here, I want to give you a tip. Back in my early just learning days. Now, again, I've been coding 3 years now, guys and gals. Just to let you know. Bouncing between C++ and C#. and using Unity as well. That's my experience. Back in my early days, one thing you have to be aware of, check your taskbar. Okay, this is a tip. You can see at the bottom of my taskbar, I can see this is right here. Just be aware. You cannot run, sometimes let's say you click, so now I don't see my console. Oh, so your brain thinks that it's closed when in fact it's still running in the background. Okay, so you can't run a program again if this is still open. Okay, take note, guys, be aware of this. You cannot run it again if this is open. Okay, that's when you'll get linker errors, and you'll see it here in code. It'll actually say line 1. Just have a look at your taskbar and see if it's running in the background. Okay, that's my quick tip for you. All right, there we go. That's the most simplest thing that we could do to run a program out to the console. Simple text to the screen. Now I have some other stuff here. As we write code, you'll see that I have this kind of stuff popping up. I'm just gonna go like this. I actually have both my WordPad and Notepad open here at the same time. One's Notepad and one's YouTube. Notepad and WordPad. Okay. Dangity dong. Let's see if I can figure out, is this my old code? Yeah, it is. So let me show you. I guess I'll just continue and then we're gonna finish up. I'm gonna go Control Home Shift B. I'm gonna build it and I'm gonna run it. There you go. That's what my console runs as. Okay, I have these running from functions. Okay, just so in case you're wondering what I'm doing here, that's what they are. So the only thing that isn't being run by a function are these two lines here. One's an enter and one's just a separator. It's a line separator, that's all it is. I use it for separating code. The other thing I have is type EX to exit. That works as well. I hit EX. Or I could just click the X button to close. Okay, make sure your console's closed. If you're making any changes, always do a quick build and then run it. It'll tell you if you have any fails, okay? All right, let's finish. So this is our header. The header always is the declaration of our function. Basically, a function prototype is kind of like, this is the simplest way I could explain it. If you create methods or functions, you'll hear these two terms said together. Is the word synonymously? Yeah. Essentially, I'll repeat it again in future videos, but when you hear method or function, functions are what you see here. This is a function. Okay? The difference is methods, just to keep it simple, methods are part of a class. It's still a function, but it's called a method. That's all it is. So if you hear methods, that means it's a function part of a class. Okay? You can call them functions. If you don't have a class, we'll get into classes in the future. This program right now doesn't have a class. We'll get into that as long as the views and that increase and I keep this thing going. You guys are awesome and you're watching and you're giving me views and stuff. I'll continue this for you guys. Okay? A guy after a while just gets sick and tired of talking to himself to a screen, kind of gets old. Appreciate you being here, I truly do. So, if you hear method, think function in a class. If you hear function, just think function not in a class. Okay, that's all it is. Okay, so we have our header or our intro. We have the body of our line coding essay. This is our body. Anything inside the curly brackets is what gets executed. Okay, so a quick tip here. Normally I have it shown in my other programs, but let me just copy and paste, see if I can find it. My little notes here. I'm going to reflect on my kind of instructional notes every once in a while, okay, guys? So be aware. What am I looking for again? Dang. Let's see. Yeah, I know what I'm looking for, but it's just a matter of where is it? I have a 136,130 character plain text document. Okay, 136,000 characters. All right, just as a heads up. And I have to kind of scroll through it and look for the line of notes that I need. I thought it was at the beginning here, but it's critical so you understand how code works. I'm just going to say it, okay? If I find it in the future, I'll read it verbatim for you. Goodness gracious. Okay, so when you run the program, basically it starts at the int main. Okay, you're going to learn about data types and that, so don't worry about what int means right now. But you're always going to have a main function. This is a function here. Okay, this one's a special case function. Okay, special case. Typically int functions have a return type. You'll see this line here, return 0. You don't necessarily need it for a main function. Again, main is a special case, but return 0 is return nothing essentially. A return 0 is still good, okay? If you execute your program and it runs, you have no issues, okay? Well, you can have issues, but this program's running just fine. There isn't really anything major to it. I have a function running here on this line, and I have a function here running on this line. Okay, these here are prototypes. To get back into it, code is run line by line. Okay, so it'll kind of start at the top here, but it ignores all this, except for this here. It'll get to here and it'll go, oh, okay, I need the IO stream. Okay, it'll just kind of take the information and continue. And then it'll get here and it'll go, okay, this is a function. So essentially it's kind of like a heads up for the program. It's like, program, I have a function, there's a function here, just be aware of the function. You're going to see a function later, you're going to use a function possibly later, just be aware of it. It's kind of like a heads up. That's what a function prototype does. Okay, it's kind of like a heads up for the program. It needs to be aware of it. It needs to be aware of the fact that there's a function in your program. Okay? and it'll bypass this. It'll go, okay, there's a hello and an exit function, and then it'll continue here. Essentially, it kind of gets to the main. The main is where all the magic happens. That's what I call the magic. Anything inside the main, inside these curly brackets, again, this is a brother, and this is a sister. If you lose your curly bracket, you're going to have problems. Okay? You see how that line disappeared? You're going to have issues. Okay? Don't mess up your curly brackets. Okay? Brother and sister. They come in pairs. So it'll run this. What it does, code is run line by line. Okay? Now, I'm going to finish the line by line, and then we're going to end the stream. But I'm giving you a good breakdown on what's happening here, just so you have a good understanding right from the get-go. This is all kind of important. So down here is our conclusion. Okay? Intro, body, conclusion. Okay? Again, everything's in one CPP or source file. Okay? We're just kind of keeping everything together. You can write code this way too. You can. You won't have any issues. So this is our conclusion. I have it broken in 3 parts. You could actually break it into 2 parts and just skip the function prototype, but I'll explain that in another video. Okay? So here's my actual function. So we must have talked about the void type. It's a void function. A void function doesn't have a return type. You see how int has a return type? We're returning 0. So if I actually delete all this, this is good code right there. Right there. Okay? This will run and execute no problem. So anytime you see an int function, you'll have a return type. Okay? That's one example. There are others. Okay, I'm just going to undo for now. Take note. Be aware of this. Whoop. Okay, there we go. So, void function doesn't have a return type. Okay? But you can still return numbers. You can return words. You can return... It's not really returning. I don't know why I would use the word return. Outputting would be a better word. You're outputting to the console some information. It could be numbers, it could be letters, it could be whatever, right? Again, take note. We'll learn more about what the return type does in the future, okay? You'll see examples, okay? Just be aware of it. You must learn about it now. Right? So by the time you do code and write code, you'll be like, oh yeah. This way, if you're watching, you're going to be ahead of the game. Okay? I am going to follow the course outline more. Right? I showed you how to write hello world. You know, nothing too exciting, but it is a good feeling when you run your actual first console application. It's a good feeling. Okay, when something works, right? Okay, I gotta get back to line by line, but let's finish talking about the conclusion. So the conclusion is what we would call definition of a function. It's the definition. So anything, again, you see how the function has curly brackets? Up here, there's no curly brackets. Again, this here is letting the compiler know, hey, there's a function in this source code, if you notice, it's outside the main, right? It's underneath the main. Note the position. Headers are above the main. Definitions are below the main. This is the end of the main right here. This is the end of the program right there. It'll still read this information, but this is when it runs line by line. That's how the code works. It runs line by line, inside the main. Okay? And then when it gets to this say hello function, then it'll jump to here and go inside this and execute this. When it gets here, that's the end of it. Then it jumps back to where it was, and then it continues. Then it runs this line, then it runs this line, which are basically just, this is just an enter, and then this is just a series of dashes. Again, this is still in quotations, guys. It's a string of characters, okay? Here's another term to be aware of. Again, we're going to talk about it more. You're going to hear me say string of characters a lot. Or a series of characters, right? You can put anything in here. I could put anything in here and return it to the console. Okay? All right. So line by line, and again, it'll do the same thing here. It'll do the double enter. Then it'll go, oh, I remember this, because it's like, oh yeah, I know, it's up here. You told me about it. Thanks for telling me, Bob. And then it'll go, oh, okay, I gotta find that. And then it goes to here. It jumps inside here. It executes this. We'll talk about more about how these functions work, okay? Don't worry about it right now, okay? We'll talk about it. Don't worry, we'll get there. But let's just get an understanding how the compiler works, how things happen, how, like, I'm explaining the magic that happens when it's running, okay? So it'll execute this, which is actually right here. It's telling the program, execute this, okay? And that's what it does. So, and then I'll run it again, you'll see, okay? And then when it's done here, right, because when it gets to the curly bracket, then it knows it's done. That's kind of like, how's it said? I'm trying to think of the terminology, but I can't think of it at the top of my head. Out of scope? No, that's not the right word. Hopefully it comes to my head one day soon. I will say it and I'll go, oh yeah, that's what I wanted to say. It gets to the curly bracket and it knows it's done, essentially. And then it jumps back into the main and it continues line by line. So that's what I wanted to say to you guys earlier. Script is executed line by line until it reaches a function. But of course I couldn't find it in my notepad. It's here somewhere, but I don't want to spend a lot of time looking for it. But essentially that's what happens, right? So I'm trying to explain it the best that I can, and using the proper terminology now, hopefully, if I could actually just pull it out of my memory banks. So again, runs line by line, hits a function, goes to the function, gets to the end of the curly bracket, jumps back, continues on, continues on, continues on, continues on, continues on, gets here, jumps into here, does this, gets to here, jumps back, ignores this. This is just a pause in the console. That's all it is. And then, of course, it being an int function, which is main is a special type of function. You don't need a return type. But again, just be aware, all int functions have to have a return type. Okay? And returning 0, everything's fine. Let's see if I can find that. Where is that? Let's see. Where are you? Okay, and then I got this curly bracket. End of program goes out of scope. Okay, scope is the word I think I was looking for. It goes out of scope. And then we'll talk about memory. This is in regards to memory. You'll hear the term stack. and heap. Just stack memory is static, dynamic memory is heap. Okay, we'll talk about that more in the future. Okay, but it's just terminology that now your brain has heard, and you'll hear about it again. Okay, so when it gets to here, this is end of program, essentially. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that. I think that was a lot. Just want to save quickly. We'll run it. There we go. Again, this is from our function. This is just code that's in our main. And this is actually run via a function. Okay, as you can see. This is run by a function, which is down here. This function here executes this. Okay, this is being called. This is called calling our function. Essentially, that's what we're doing. We're calling it. And then this is just cout script within our main. That's all it is. Again, I could just, whoops. Oh, goodness gracious. I could just type anything. Like if you were in chat and you said hello, if I could actually type, I would say hello chat, or whatever your name is. And then that's what I would do. And that's just simple. We're outputting character out a series of characters, which is another name for it is string, which we'll get into. We'll talk about strings in the future. But each one of these is a character. Okay? Right? That's how we make words, with characters, right? Character, 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 character. It's a series of characters. Build it, run it, and it'll run and execute exactly the way I have. Spaces. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Space is a character. Let's go! All right, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you for watching. Appreciate you 17 viewers. You guys are golden. Golden. I wish you all the best in life. I truly mean that. You beautiful, intelligent, 128 IQ and higher people. Yes, C++. I'm gonna eventually speed up and get faster at this, guys. I will. I like to explain things, I guess, and hopefully you're learning. Let me know. I don't know how you'd let me know, but the views will let me know, I guess. That is it. Johnny with WhiskeyTango Coding. I appreciate you. Whoever you are, wherever you are, have an excellent rest of your day, night, evening, and we'll talk to you soon. See you in the next video. Take care for now. Peace!